Hi YouTube, on today's episode we are going to look at gasoline and propane generators. This is a short video in a series that we've done on power. We have done video on USB power, battery packs, inverters, and small solar generators. And on today's episode we are going to look at the DuroMax 4400 propane and gasoline generator. So I want to give a short overview on the benefit of a generator. One immediate benefit is you get more cost, you save on your watt power. So this is a Yeti 400 and it's 400 watts, and this is a 4400 watt gasoline propane generator, and they were nearly the same cost. One of the benefits with traditional generators is they're inexpensive relatively compared to solar. One of the downsides is that they are loud and they need a place to vent. One reason we went with this style of generator, before I get into this one specifically, is we wanted two fuel options. And this gives us propane, just the standard connection like you'd hook up to a propane grill, and gasoline. The reason we went with these two instead of diesel and another option is because we have gasoline in our cars, and we also have gasoline that we keep around. Most people with a yard have a gasoline lawnmower. So you can use that as a fuel source for this. And people with a propane grill can most likely have one or two of these tanks lying around. And that's a quick fix. In an emergency, people flood stores to get food, and they also flood gasoline stations to top off their cars, to fill gas cans. And on a side note, you should always have half a tank of gas in your car, or diesel, or whatever it is you use. You should always have half. So just friendly side note there. One addition that we did to this was we added a fuel gauge on the side. We can get 20 hours roughly out of a 20-pound cylinder. We can get 8 hours out of 4 gallons, which is what this tank holds. Out of this, the propane, since it's propane, not gasoline, it does run cleaner. So if you do have the ability to run propane, it'll be a cleaner option for you to do. One option you can do, you can always look at your propane company and ask them if they can hook up and plumb a line if you have a propane tank at your house, if you live in the country, and see if they will run a separate propane line to the area where you can have your grill that you set out, and so that way you can just hook up your tank, your grill, to your main tank, and at that same location you could also hook up your generator. So instead of being reliant on the small tanks, you can go to the larger tank you use for your home and just hook it up, and that way you have a more consistent supply. One downside with using propane is when this is out, the generator is going to cut off. When the gasoline is getting low on here, you can just top off the tank. So that is a big pro and con. If you're running something and you need consistent power, gasoline is definitely going to be your option. But just for redundancy, you can have both. And we like usually running this, and we'll just keep the tank full with some stable in it. So that way, if something happens and we do have to take the generator somewhere, or if we just need it, and we need it right now for whatever that circumstance might be, then we don't have to worry about hooking anything up or making sure our propane tank is full, or at least has enough to get us going for a few minutes. Our rule is this tank stays full. No questions asked. This tank stays full. It stays with enough stable in it to keep it for 6 to 12 months, and that does not change. Like I said, we added this fuel gauge on the propane tank because the wise tale of watching the condensation on the side is an option, but I like having an objective gauge that can just say you have roughly this much fuel left. So let's get up and look at it. So this is the front. It has a key. It also has a pull start. It has a low oil lamp below the keys. It has a voltmeter. It has two 110s, a twist lock, 30 amp, 240 volt, 220. It has a switch so you can specify which one you're trying to run. It has a breaker. It has a grounding screw to ground the generator like most other generators. It has a small battery on it. It has two handles. It has your exhaust over here. And the wheels are rubber wheels, so they will not go flat. I mean, unless you just tear the rubber apart, but they are not air, which is one reason I wanted to get this one specifically. And you have your air filter on the side and your fuel on and off right there. You have a fuel gauge. It's deceptive, it is full. You have your 4 gallons and you have your fuel line. The reason that we went with this generator again is it's portable, semi-portable. You can throw it in the back of your truck. If you don't have a truck and you have an SUV with a trailer hitch, you can get a trailer hitch shelf for it. You can roll it pretty easily. It's not extremely heavy. 2 people can lift it simply. This specific one is DuroMax 4400 dual fuel. With this generator, we have ran it off a 110 and we've ran it to a box to split it. We can run a 32-inch LED television, a satellite box, an ICOM base station, a driveway sensor, Midland base camp radio that is actively making noise and running, a medium-sized household refrigerator freezer, 2 lamps with 100-watt halogen light bulbs in them, a coffee maker, and a charging station, base station for 2 Midland GTX 1000s. And it can run all of those without any problem. When you start to add a few things onto that is when we start to trip it and it starts going over. So that's about the maximum we can run on it. I think it's good for at least someone you know, whether you chip in together or not, to get at least a basic one of these. It'll be one house in your cul-de-sac, in your subdivision, in your group of friends, in your hunting camp, just so you can have electricity. So that way you can have a way to see what's going on in the news, and it is relatively easy to hook up as long as you have the physical ability to turn a key. For the most part, we only did the pull start 3 times with having this thing, and it's been sitting out in the cold. We've let it sit out in the heat, and it's worked great. So as long as you have the ability to turn a key or pull a pull start like on a lawnmower and tilt a gas can over or hook up a propane tank, you can have reliable power. We have had no issues with this. The only thing we had to replace is the fuel line, and that was not a big deal. From what I understand, this was sitting out in a warehouse field for about 3 or 4 years in Canada. And if that's the case, then it was sitting unused in a box, and it has been running great. So if that's what it can put up with and still crank just fine, it cranked on the first go when we set it up. And this is a great product. Now, this is not a Generac. It's not a Kohler, so you're not going to get that reliability and long-term really running it hard. You're not going to get that customer support. You're going to have to rely on YouTube for how things work, because that's what I had to do. But this is a great generator. It is inexpensive. I looked on Amazon just before we did this video, and this is going for $500. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you choose to go with this, you need to make sure to purchase it from a brick and mortar store. We wound up looking on Amazon, but buying this from Home Depot. The reason, if something were to happen to this and you need to get it worked on or get it replaced, you can't send this back easily to Amazon, because as soon as you put fuel in this, it's now a hazmat or hazardous cargo or dangerous goods, and you have to pay extra to get it shipped. It's just a whole hassle. If you buy it from a brick and mortar store like Home Depot, Lowe's, somewhere like that, you can take this back in your car and then they can deal with all that stuff. And Home Depot also sells a warranty that you can get this an extended warranty for this and for all their other generators. And if something were to happen, that's some great insurance to have. So thanks for watching. And that was our gasoline propane generator.